Michael, welcome to the podcast this morning. It's 11 a.m. here in Japan and 12 p.m. in Sydney. Is it Sydney you're in?
Sydney, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and interesting to see how we go today.
Yeah, I'm really interested to find out about your journey as dad, and it's I've been doing a bit of research about your journey. I've listened to a couple of an episode of a podcast you're on. You were on a YouTube video as well, and I've dived into your Instagram, and so I've compiled some things which I'd love to discuss with you as well. But maybe we should start off with the first thing here, which really is about how, how old were you when you became a dad?
Oh, now I've got to do the calculation. 25.
Oh, you're 25, right?
25,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Does it seem like a long time ago, or does it seem like it was just like yesterday?
Well, that daughter is 47 on Tuesday.
Right.
So it was 47 years ago.
47 years ago.
Yeah.
See, I'm 49, so we're your daughter and me are like, we're not far off.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Like, do you remember the first time you held your daughter?
Oh, well, I wasn't there for the birth, which was only a new thing in those days. Few years, my sister had a child back in 1973, 4, somewhere like that, and her husband had to argue to get into the delivery suite,
Wow.
and because it wasn't common. And when it was my turn, I was playing hockey at the time.
Oh, you were playing hockey.
Yeah, and didn't know that my wife was in labour.
Right.
It was an
Okay.
induced labour, so I arrived a couple of hours late,
I see.
about 3 hours late after the birth.
How did you find
And
out? Actually, how did you find out? Because there was no smartphones back then. So how did you find out?
no, well, that's a good story because at the time in Australia, this is 1979, we had a telecommunications dispute. We had a petrol issue where there was restrictions in petrol. So, and where the hospital was in a different STD area to where we lived. So it was caught up in the problems. And apparently they tried to ring me in the morning to say that she'd been induced, and it wouldn't work. And the doctor walked into the delivery suite and said, "Where's the husband? I thought he was going to be here." And they said, "Oh, we haven't contacted him." So they rang, but I had already gone to hockey because I had caught a train to get there because I was saving petrol. And I played the game, went home. Mother-in-law came out and said, "Where have you been? I've been to every hockey field in Campbelltown and couldn't find you." I said, "You didn't come to the one I was at." The one. Anyway, she said, "You've been a father for 3 hours now and you didn't know it."
Oh wow.
So I got in the car and burnt up all the petrol I'd saved. Driving a half hour to the hospital, and I got there and apologised to my wife for missing out. And
Oh wow.
I
Did she ever forgive you?
she had another child, so I guess so.
I guess so.
And I was at the second one,
Oh right. Okay. Yeah. I bet so. I've got to be there. For that.
which saved a little bit. So I can't remember the exact moment that I first held her, but in those days you could put a bassinet in the back of the car and strap it in with your seatbelt.
Yeah, that's right.
No problem. Nowadays you take your child home and you got to have this space capsule installed in your car so that you can take them home safely.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and I remember carrying the basket, the bassinet out to the car, but I can't remember nursing or holding her the first time. But I must say, she was a cute little girl. She's still cute.
Were, were you? Do you think you were ready to be a dad back then?
No, I had no experience as a dad.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of five,
Right.
so I'd seen what my dad was like.
Yeah.
I'd seen what my mum was like. My dad, I've always considered to be a great role model, but it doesn't mean that I learned anything from him. But, you know, and in those days, there was this book, or this guy called Dr. Spock that people tended to follow. Not the one from Star Trek, by the way, but a different one.
Right.
And tend to follow, and you know, it was the sort of the way to go in child raising. My parents didn't use that approach, and I think by the time I was a parent, Dr. Spock was less of a thing. So there was no real manual for how to be a dad, how to be a mum, and so a lot of it was fly by the seat of the pants. And I think I did a good job in retrospect. My two daughters still talk to me, which is good.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, my grandkids call me Grumpy.
Oh, okay. So why
And
is
I
that?
said,
Why is that?
why is that? Well, when we were having a first grandchild, the kids said, Neryl, my wife Neryl wanted to be called Grammy. I thought, that's a nice name. And they said, well, what are you going to be called, Dad? And I said, I don't know. And one of them said, well, you're always a grumpy old man when we were growing up, so let's call you Grumpy. And like the eldest grandchild is 21 in a couple of months, or next month actually, and he still calls me Grumpy. And I remember going to my mother's 80th birthday party, and Jack was there, and he said, hey, Grumpy. And my godmother was in the room, and she said, what did he just call you? Grumpy. She said, how inappropriate that a child could call his grandfather Grumpy. And I thought, well, you know, that's the term of endearment in our family. It's not meant to be a term to say, you know, he's still a grumpy old man.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think over the years I actually matured a bit from the early days of being a parent to later days. And certainly as a grandfather, I have a different approach to it all.
How do you think you've changed?
I think I'm mellowed a bit. I don't get cranky as quickly as I used to.
Why is that? Why is that though? What? I mean, I'm diving in pretty deep, pretty quick here. But like, if you could, is there anything that you could think?
I think I learned a bit on the way that, you know, getting cranky didn't do me any good and didn't make the kids any better. And I think I slowly mellowed. I mean, we grew up in an era where slapping your children wasn't acceptable. So you had to think of other ways to enforce some of your rules, I guess. And, you know, I remember when my 47-year-old daughter was 16 and she had a party organised for her party, and I cancelled it on her
Oh,
at the last minute.
oh wow! You mustn't have been very popular after that.
Oh, well, I wasn't. But it's funny because I mentioned it to her sometime about 6 months ago, and she says, I don't remember that.
Ah,
I said, well, obviously it didn't have too much of an effect on you.
yeah, she doesn't remember. So that's fine. Like,
No, you know, I said, she said, why'd you do it? I said, well, one of your friends you're still friends with now you did something to her at school, and I found out about it on the day of your party. So I told your mother that, well, the right thing to do is to cancel the party because you can't do something like that and
Mm,
then have a party. And I don't know, it was
mm,
something, you know how girls get a bit bitchy when they're at school.
yeah.
So yeah, but they're still good friends. They catch up occasionally, and
That's good, isn't it? That's a great story, actually. That's a great story. So, yeah, she just doesn't remember it.
yeah.
What? Like, um, were you, as a dad, were you like were you the good cop or the bad cop in the marriage?
Oh, definitely the bad cop. I mean, my mother used to say to us, "Wait till your father gets home," and I'm sure that Neryl used to say to our girls, "Wait till your father gets home,"
Right, right.
because I get home and there's sort of a bit of a tension in the air, and I say, "What's going on?" And I get told, and I said, and Neryl would say, and I told him that when you get home, you'll deal with it. And I think, oh, okay. So I've got to be the bad cop.
Right.
I've got to be the one that sort of enforces the rules. And that's probably why I became known as Grumpy, because
Mm,
that's that's what I did a lot of the
yeah.
time. And also, I was a bit of a away from home dad.
Mm,
Early years, I was a teacher, and then I
right.
left teaching and started working in the centre of Sydney.
Right, right.
So that meant about 3 hours a day of travel. So
Wow.
I'd leave early in the day, get back around dinner time, not there for any of the after school activities, and some nights I'd miss dinner, with the family. So they didn't see me a lot. I also, in those days, refereed a sport, which was played on weekends, and so I'd also be
Mm,
away one or both days of the weekend. So in a lot of ways, I wasn't there all the time.
mm,
And when I was there, I was the bad cop.
yeah. I actually, it's funny, Michael. I can resonate with this actually quite a bit. What you're saying, like for my life right now as a dad, like my job is I'm a teacher. Actually, I teach English. I can't believe I teach English, but I do.
Yep, yep,
And my job kind of really is the prime hours of my job is like from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 9:30 at night.
yep,
So a Tuesday to Friday is I'm often not there at home in the evenings. So my wife is dealing with kids,
yep,
and listeners of the show will know that we got two boys. Joey is my eldest. He's just turned 18 in April, and he has Down syndrome and he's on the spectrum. And my youngest, he's 15, and so two boys in the house, teenagers, and it can be it can be kind of quite tricky for my wife to kind of manage this. My wife's not, she's Japanese and she's not a tall woman. She's actually the shortest in the house now,
right,
as
yeah,
well. Um, but circling back to kind of what you're saying, how a bit of the absent father, and I kind of feel I am a bit like that actually, um, which I don't like, and I wonder whether you like at the time were you like how did you feel about it actually at the time?
oh, sometimes I felt a bit estranged from it all,
Mm,
and other times that thought, well, this is what parents do, to
mm,
earn an income, I've got to
yeah,
travel.
yeah,
I can't get the income I'm getting here by staying in Campbelltown.
mm,
I work for the government. It was good money. It got better as time goes on and went on. And I tried to, when I did have time, with the girls to spend. If I have a flexi day, I'd spend the time. Make sure it enables me to go to their birthday fair on holidays, so they can have time with them. And do anything I could do special. We'd go for a picnic on a drive and a picnic on a Sunday when particularly during summer. Take them to the beach during summer. I mean, Sydney, like most places in the world, are not great places for going outside in winter, even though I was involved in winter. And I was involved with winter sports, so, rugby league and later on through the girls, netball.
Yeah, right.
So, and also they used to do swimming. I used to take them to swimming. So I used to get home in time on a Monday night so I could take them to swimming. It wasn't a lesson, it was a squad or something like that, which I did for a few years whilst I was still doing that. And that was towards the latter end of their schooling.
Right. I want to kind of go forward a little bit now, and like, if we can, you got married to Neryl. What year was that?
That was 1977.
1970 you got married, yeah.
49 years ago.
49 years ago. How'd you guys meet?
That's a good story.
Oh, another good story. Oh, good.
I've got lots of good stories.
Lots of good stories. Yeah, how'd you guys meet?
I belong to a organisation that had been formed by Rotary International called Rotaract. So it was for people who were 18 to 28. And I belonged to that, and I was on the board of that chapter in Armidale. And there was a Rotary Youth Conference in a town called Neryl, which is about a 2-hour drive from Armidale. And I went to that. And in that, we had breakout sessions. And there was a group of Rotaract people and people who had been to a Rotary Youth Leadership Awardee program in the same room. And a discussion started. And there was this woman at the front of the room who was very vocal, and there was this bloke in the back of the room, namely me, who was very vocal. And we sort of got into a bit of a tangle.
Right.
And I went home from that conference, and then about 4 months later, I went to a Rotary Youth Leadership Awardee program as a awardee. And there was this woman on the staff there. She was what they call the secretary, the admin person. And I looked at her and I said to her, "Oh, you're Neryl, aren't you? That was at the conference in Inverell." And she said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Oh, okay." And I talked to her a few times. And after about 2 days, I said, "I'm really sure, I'm pretty good with faces and, I might be bad with names." And she said, "No, I'm not Neryl, I'm Neryl." And I thought, okay. And we just talked occasionally, and get together. And at the end of the week, we had a dinner. And after the dinner, a bunch of people went back to the motel room, and she was there, and we sort of hung out a little bit together. And the following week or 2 weeks later, we had a Rotaract changeover dinner, and Neryl came along to it with a couple of other people from her town, and I started chatting to her again, and I also chatted to her housemate, and I was saying how I needed to do some prac teaching, and she said, "Why don't you come to Taree and do the prac teaching there? You can stay with us." Remembering she was the housemate, not the owner of the house. So I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." So a couple of months later, I rang up Neryl and said, "Is it still okay for me to come?" and stay with you. And I got a sort of a bit of a cold reaction to it at first. And she said, yeah, 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 okay. Gave me her address. And remember, there's no mobile phones here. So then I turned up on the day, a few weeks later, and I arrived in Taree at 7 o'clock at night. It's pitch black. And I had the address. I had a phone number, no mobile phone. And I thought, right, first of all, I'll look for a street map somewhere. And I drove up and down the main street, couldn't find one. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to do next best thing and ring her up. So I found a phone booth, a public phone, rang her up, and she said, right, well, where you are, go up the street, turn left, go up 2 streets, turn left again, and I'm about the sixth house up the street. Oh, I wasn't very far away. So I stayed there for two or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And whilst we were there, I stayed there of the weekend. One weekend, she said, look, I'm in a music hall show tonight. I don't know what if you can know what that is, but it's where people get up and sing and dance, and someone gives corny jokes and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
And there's a dinner involved. I wondered if you'd come. I said, sounds like better than doing nothing. So I went along, and she's performing on stage. I look at her and say, she's really great. So after that, we sort of formed a relationship. And before Neryl died, a few months before, I said to her, and I videoed this, so I've still got a video of it. I said, what did you think of me when you first met me? And she said, I didn't like you very much. And I said, oh, I knew that. And I said, how come we got married then? And she said, I changed my mind. And I said, well, what changed your mind? And she said, I got to know you.
Oh, interesting.
I played that video for my girls a year or so ago.
Right.
Because I wasn't game to show it to them before that. And I said, that's a beautiful video to have. And it's actual, whenever I want to listen to her voice again, I sort of play the video again. And it just goes to show you that sometimes who we meet, how we perceive someone when we first meet them is not how they really are. Yeah.
It's quite a fascinating thing, isn't it? Because I think, sometimes it just takes time, doesn't it, to kind of get to know someone, doesn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes we don't give ourselves that opportunity to get to know them.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Even I think it goes so far as actually, to say that I don't think we even kind of know ourselves for many years as well, right? So we're expecting someone to kind of know us when we don't even quite know ourselves,
Yeah, that's right. And we don't know ourselves for a long time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and sometimes I think we never know ourselves completely.
It's a journey, isn't it? It's very much a journey. I feel like in the last couple of years now, last 2 years, I think I've started to understand and know myself a hell of a lot more than what I did for the last 47 years. Like I'm 40. Actually, hang on, for the last, I'm 48 now, 49 at the end of this year. So really, for 40, 45 plus years, I don't think I really not knew myself, but I'll be really bold and out there. That sounds really kind of podcasty. No, I just didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't know how to love myself. Like I didn't know what self-love was, self-compassion was, really what that was. It was kind of just going through life and things like that. So, but that's what about you? Do you like have you kind of found your kind of would you say you know found yourself?
That's a interesting question. I I don't know. I think I'm finding myself.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's finding.
Um,
It's not you're finding it.
and
It's a journey, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And one thing I can, yeah, and you hear this all the time, but where you are now is exactly where you need to be.
Mm.
And all those things you've been through, you had to go through to get to where you are now.
Mm.
You know, but, I was a teacher. I worked in policy. I was a statistician, an economist, a policy analyst. And yet, since I retired, and that's 11 years ago now, I I've moved into personal training.
Mm.
So, or physical personal training. I've always been a coach. I've been a coach basically since I was 18, 17, 18, of various sports. And I've gone to the fitness training, and also now that I'm doing the mindset life coaching.
Yeah.
And since Neryl died, I've sort of gradually moved into a world of being someone who helps widowed men to live a better life.
Mm.
And in doing that, I believe I'm finding myself now. And the question is, did I need to go through all that life story
Mm.
to get to where I am now to be
Mm.
who I need to be? But I'm not there yet. You
Yes.
know?
Do you? I don't. I don't think.
And
I don't
and
think
the,
we're ever there, are we? I don't think we're ever
well,
there.
that was the next slide.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's the next slide. Sorry, I stole it from you.
I don't think we ever get there.
Yeah.
It's just something we evolve. And if we get there, what happens when we get there? It's like climbing Mount Everest. You climb to the top of Mount Everest,
Mm.
and you get to the top, and then, well, you've reached the pinnacle.
Mm.
You can say, I've been to the top of Mount Everest. You don't need to go anywhere else.
Mm.
Well, what else are you going to do in your life?
Mm.
Where are you going to go from there? And I think as we evolve, we evolve, we evolve, we evolve, and we keep on evolving. And when we stop evolving, and then perhaps that's when we die.
Mm.
I don't know. And it might not be physical, it might be a spiritual or mental thing.
Mm.
And the thing that keeps me going every day is knowing that, I'm growing. Last weekend I did a 3-day training course, and I thought, wow, there's so much I learned from that. And here I am at my age, I'm a really young bloke. You've been married nearly 50 years, you can't be young. So I've always believed that there's growth in you. People need to grow and grow. And when you stop growing, then that's when your life is just sort of, I don't know, goes into a bit of crap, really.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's. I guess there can be troughs, isn't there? There's troughs in life, and sometimes life goes down, right? Life
Mm.
we can hit points in our life where it's just really shit, and it's kind of out of our control. And I suppose that kind of leads us to a point where, for you, um, you lost Neryl about five years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I suppose like that that would have was that the single hardest thing that you've had to deal with?
over my lifetime, I've experienced loss a bit. My sister died when I was 34. My father died when I was 35. My mother died 9 months, almost to the day,
Mm.
before Neryl. Neryl's mother died many years ago. Well, must be 20 years ago because Jack's 21 and he was only a baby when she died.
Mm.
So I went through a lot of loss, job
Mm.
changes, dissatisfaction at work, not getting on at work, difficulties with some staff members at work. But to me, that is the biggest thing that's happened to me that's affected me.
Mm.
It's the one that took me. I mean, I had a girlfriend when I was at school and university. We went out together for 4 years, and breaking up with her, and it wasn't initiated by me. It was probably caused by me, but it wasn't initiated by me. And I was down for months after that. But with Neryl, it was more than months. It was close to a year
Mm.
that I was down, and anything could break me in that time. And probably the one thing that saved me was that my daughter was living with me at the time.
Mm.
So and because we were in COVID at that time, and if you weren't living with somebody, you were separated from the rest of the world in Australia.
Yeah.
And so that provided me with some company, someone to talk to. I also I was coaching a netball team, and I was the assistant coach, and the coach and the team members would ring me up and say, "Let's go for a walk. Let's have a chat." If you were exercising together, you could meet up, but if you weren't, you couldn't. So going for a walk and having a chat was possible,
Yeah.
and those sort of things helped me through that process. And when I look back at it now, I don't know. And I said this to one of my clients the other day. I don't think I would have got through that first 6 months if Gillian hadn't been living with me at the time
Mm.
and having someone to talk to. If I'd have been alone, completely alone in that time, then who knows?
Mm.
I've never thought of suicide or anything like that,
Mm.
and I'm not talking about that, but I might have been a really, really stuck in the pain of loss.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people get to that stage and stay there, which is
Mm.
unfortunate.
Yeah. I One of the reasons that we're talking today, and I reached out to you was I I've got two mates, um, who one who I've known, Australian mate of mine, I've known for over 20 years. We worked together in London, and another mate of mine who, um, I actually reached out to him after he posted on a Facebook group that, this was about over, almost coming up to 2 years, is that, he had lost his wife in November, and I reached out to him. He posted it in January, and there was something about this, Michael, that I saw this post, and there's sometimes in our lives where we just think that we have the bandwidth to help, or not to help, but to do something.
Yep,
There's
yep,
something in this, in the universe, that reaches out to us individually or whatever. And I sent him a private message, and I said, "Hey man, like, I don't know. I actually don't know what I said. I have to look back on my messages, but I don't know what I just reached out to him, um, and I felt because he was a special needs dad, so he's like got like 4 kids, and so he's really got his hands full. Him and his wife did have their hands full, and now he was going to be doing it on his own, and I knew how
Yeah.
bloody hard that would be, and so that's why I reached out, and so I we kind of kept in contact. I remember a couple of days later, like I called him. We did a voice call, and we spoke on the phone. I didn't know him from bar of soap. He didn't know me from bar of soap, and he just he kind of unloaded, and I just listened. And he said like that was amazing. He said like it was just great. It was just great to be able to just get it out because it was just someone just to listen, to how he was feeling and just the
Mm.
stresses and listen, like getting out some of that, releasing some of the air in the balloon. I kind of refer to that myself as like releasing the pressure in the balloon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and and so and he's actually been on the show. He actually came on the show, um, and we did an episode with him, Brian. And then circling back to my Australian mate, who last year he lost his wife. So I was like, I really want to talk to Michael, and I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to hear your journey of how you've kind of gone through and are going through that kind of journey.
Mm.
But also, I want to hear your advice as to for people like myself who are around those who have lost uh, um, their husbands or their wives. How what can we do to support? Because I honestly feel like I don't know what to do. I don't know how to support. I can't fix the problem, but I want to be able to help support that mate, and I wonder whether you can speak to that.
The thought that came to me as you were talking was exactly what you did.
Mm.
Get on the phone and have a chat to them. Not necessarily expressing your condolences,
Mm.
but just chatting. You know, as I say, walking with my netball players and talking just did wonders for me. It made me feel good. I've got 2 very good friends who I met through, in one case, their father, and the other case, their husband, who, and both of those men have died. One a long time ago, one a couple of years before Neryl. And they would ring me up and talk to me. Just talk, How you going today? Is there anything I can do for you? What's going on? What's happening in your life? How are things going? And that's what I think is the best thing.
Mm.
I, personally, when someone dies, I don't know what to say to their family. You know, I don't want to say they're in the better place now because that doesn't help. That doesn't help me knowing, or they're no longer in pain, as often people say. But just to let people know that you care about them, that you empathise with them. You're not giving them sympathy, but you're giving empathy. And the second of my widow friends, she became a widow 3 years ago. her husband died on my birthday. And I said, that wasn't very nice, but I'll never forget when he died. I'll never forget his anniversary. And a guy I know, his wife died at Christmas time. And I see him fairly regularly because he's involved with netball. And when I see him, I just say, how you going today? You know, and a few times he said to me, today's not a good day. And I think, well, I'm not going to get you into the depths of it all. But, you know, let's see how the day goes. Tomorrow might be a better day. There's, how's your family going? How's your sons, your daughter, how are they, are they interacting with you? Are you getting some support? They're the sort of things that I look at, how you deal with it. And that's what I would have loved. My brother and sisters gave me a lot of support via phone in the days, months. My brother-in-law spent a lot of time. He came to the funeral, travelled down from Queensland for the funeral, and got stuck in New South Wales for 2 weeks because he couldn't go back into Queensland because New South Wales was a dirty state and Queensland wasn't in terms of COVID. And, I greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate the fact that my daughter was here and that I probably wouldn't have got through that period, that 6 months, as easily if she hadn't been here. She'd do evening shifts or day shifts and that. And some nights she'd turn up home from work at 11 o'clock at night and we'd just go for a walk and talk around the block, a couple of kilometre walk. I've walked as much since you left. And we now live in the same building. But that's another story. Yeah.
Thanks for that. I think it's probably helped me, and I hope that it's helped kind of anyone who's got people that are kind of going through that. Because I sometimes do feel that it's like, am I reaching out too much? Do I say the wrong, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like, I want to say the right thing. And so I think maybe some people just, instead of dicing with the 50-50 chance of saying the wrong thing, is they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Because
I know exactly what you mean.
It's safer than saying something that's going to cause that person discomfort, unhappiness, whatever. So let's give them space. And I feel like I understand that, but I also feel like that's the easy way out.
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't done that. I preferred to kind of say something rather than nothing. And I'm at a distance as well. I'm in Japan. I'm not just
that's right.
So I'm doing things using technology.
Yeah. But you say you give them space, and that's got two versions of it. You can give them space, but you can also give them a safe space. So you give them a place where they can talk freely about anything. And it's just a matter of talking it. I every week I hold a widower conversations session on Zoom. And at the moment, one person comes to it. And the other day, I had no agenda. I did, but I just, hi, how you going? And we got into a conversation and we went for an hour just talking about life in general. And I went away from that thinking that's the best session I've ever had. And This guy turns up every week for months now, and we just have a chat. And he's in America.
Oh
Like,
wow.
he's not like around the corner in Sydney where I could go and have a coffee with him
Yeah,
or
right, right.
a drink with him. He's in America. He's in the east coast of America, and like it's my breakfast time and it's his dinner time,
Mm,
and and I look at it every week and think, don't not turn up, because I actually enjoy those sessions with him.
mm.
It's helping me as well as helping him.
I was just going to say, yeah, yeah.
And I think he feels the same way because he keeps on turning up.
Mm,
Now, I'd like to have more people turn up,
yeah.
and so that more people could join in on that chat. And maybe it's only a group of 3 or 4 people, but just have a chat, general chatter
Is
around the microphone.
is it? Yeah, around the microphone. Is it
Yeah.
like I, I feel that as as men, this can sometimes be quite tricky for us, though. Kind of, it can be quite to just um, not talk about sport, but actually talk about kind of what's really kind of going on, and just
Mm,
having the other guy, mate, just listen
yeah.
and not offer any solution to the problem that's going on, because I don't that often that's not what we need. And I think that, like, it does. I think I don't think it happens enough. It probably happens more than what it did.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. I think that
Mm-hmm.
like, here we're having this conversation, right? And I think we're talking about our lives, what's going on in our journey. And because I think the generation before, like, my dad is of your generation, and my dad to this day, no, he doesn't talk about things. That's just how my dad is. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's okay. I understand that. He doesn't want to put it out there. They see it as they're kind of airing their laundry. I understand that, because that's how it was, you know, when he was growing up, and he's still got that perception of that, and I understand. But I feel like it's really, he goes out and he sees his friends and he chats with his friends. I don't know what he talks about, um, but and he really values those. Actually, he does really value those sessions with his mates
Mm.
over coffee. He goes and has coffee with his mates. Um, um, but I think, I don't know. Yeah, men, I think we struggle, don't we? We can struggle with this because we to sit in even just 1-to-1 or as 1-to-3 or something. I don't know, like, well, whatever, a group. It can be confronting for us. I think, can it?
I, I think it's a perception,
Mm.
and I think it's reality that men don't like to open up and air their dirty laundry
Mm.
or their thoughts. They don't like to demonstrate emotion. And, you know, uh, it's okay to cry. That's
Mm.
my philosophy. But would I enjoy crying in public? You know, I I sometimes get on a Zoom call and someone asks me a question and I'm answering the question and all of a sudden I can feel the tears welling up in my eyes. And I think, how do I control? And I think to myself, how do I control this so I don't look or sound like I'm losing it? When in fact I am. And I think if we do let ourselves go and lose it, then we'd be better off. And I believe it's my view or feeling that women are better able to do that. I might be wrong, and I'd love for someone to tell me it's different. I'm not a woman, so I can't tell you. But that's my observation. I feel as if it's easier for them to open up than what it is for us.
I was watching I was sitting with my wife, watching Love on the Spectrum the other week. I don't know if you're familiar with that series, a Netflix series. And I was sitting there, like we were sitting with each other watching this, and there's been times in this season, in the series, that I've felt like it's really kind of pulled at my inner emotions as a as a parent, and
Yeah,
as also as a parent child that is on the spectrum, and has challenges with um, creating friendships and bonds with people, and all these kind of dynamics of relationships. And I remember sitting there, last week it was, and watching the last of the season finale. And I sat there, and I was there was an emotional scene of the guy was proposing to um, his girlfriend, and there, that feeling started to come on of, you know, feeling emotional, and then, as always with me, and I'm really curious to hear kind of what it's like for you, is there's also like that comes on, and then there's almost like this thing inside me that says, that feels like you've got to suppress that. Is like another emotion in there saying you got to suppress that, or like that's not a feeling that you're used to.
mm,
Um, but I would say that in the last how many years now? 7 years. Um, I've become much more at peace with that, with just letting that emotion come out, because it is very healthy. It is one of the best things I think that we can do as men for
mhm,
our own well-being, and that flows on to those around us, our
yeah,
wives, our kids, our workmates, or whoever that is
mhm,
around us that we pass through on a daily basis or whatever. Because even if it's watching a TV show, or if it's talking to a mate, or talking on a podcast like this, or whatever that might be, however that plays out, sitting over a beer with your mate on the beach, whatever, like, I feel like if we can just let it go, if we feel it, letting that, just being aware, but just just let it
yeah,
happen. Don't push back on it. What do you what do you feel yourself with that kind of, that side of you kind of like pushing it back or something?
yeah. And it's exactly what happens. You know, I watched this movie called The Art of Driving in the Rain. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on
No.
Netflix for a while. It's now off.
Mm,
But before it went off, I watched it and I cried many times through it. But I watched it by myself. Anyway, I was on the other side of this building and they were watching something. And I said, there's this show you guys should see. I'll warn you now, it's sad. And it was that movie, The Art of Driving in the Rain.
mm,
And I sat there and watched it, and throughout it, you know, the tears are welling up in my eyes. And fight, even because I was in front of people, I was fighting it this time.
mm,
And we finished watching it, and the comment from my daughter and my granddaughter who was watching it with me was, that was a nice movie. It really was. But you told me it was sad, but you didn't tell me it was that sad. And I said, yeah, but I tell you what, it made me feel good, even though it was sad to watch it, to experience that sadness
mm,
again.
mm,
And I think it's Robin Sharma says you got to feel it to heal it. And one thing I find in working with people is I tell them, when you feel those waves of emotion that come every so often, and when it's a wedding anniversary or anniversary of their death, birthday, or anything, you're going to have a wave of emotion come over you. Don't try and force it. Don't say and try to push it away. Just sit in it for a while. Sit in that emotion and name it. Recognize what it is, and just think, wasn't it great that I had an opportunity to spend my life with Neryl or whatever the person's name is, because they gave me a gift of them for however many years it was. And it's so beautiful just to do that. My daughter got married again last year, and now I'm going to get emotional just thinking about it. But we went away. It was a sort of a destination wedding. We went up to the north coast of New South Wales and spent a week there, a bit over a week, sometime before and after the wedding. And before the wedding, I could feel for a couple of days this unease. And I realised that I was sad because Neryl wasn't there to be with me, but also to see her daughter having a bit of joy in life. And one of the beautiful things that Gillian and Greg did was they had two chairs in the where we went into the place where they were married, and on one chair was something like "In the memory of Neryl." This chair is reserved for Neryl, and which is Gillian's mother, and this chair is reserved for Gwenda, who was Greg's mother. Right. And when we went to the reception, I'm walking around the room and saw these chairs and started crying. And someone said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just saw those chairs. That's beautiful, but it's making me cry." And they said, "Oh, they were in the place where they got married. Didn't you see them?" I said, "No, I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have made it down the aisle." And it was just it's a beautiful touch. And but it sort of created that emotion in me. And I don't know where I'm going with all this, but
that's a beautiful story. I think what's interesting, it shows that they didn't ask you about this. They didn't say, "Hey, Dad, do you think can we do this?" They did it with the intention of, Neryl was still there. Neryl was there. Neryl was present. She was in there in spirit, or however it's seen, and there was her seat.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I think if they had asked you, I wonder what you would have said.
I don't know. I probably would have said yes, because the interesting thing is what they did ask me was, Gillian was looking around for a place to get married, and in Sydney, country places. And she came to me one day and said, "Dad, we're thinking of getting married at the place that you and Mum were meant to get married in." but you didn't get married there because the weather prevented it, because it was an outdoor venue. And it actually poured raining at 4 o'clock in the morning that we were getting married. The water was about 3 inches deep on the ground when someone went and had a look at it. She said, "What do you think?" She didn't ask me what I thought. She said, "What do you think Mum would think about that?" And I thought, I think she'd love it, but I'd love it. That opportunity for you to experience what we didn't. Because when I first met Neryl, one of the things she said, she told me one night about this place to describe what her ideal wedding was. Walking down through the trees, down to the waterfront and getting married at this place, this special place for her. And, we meant to make that a realistic thing for us. It didn't happen. But the fact that Gillian could do it, it was just so beautiful. The interesting thing is that during the service for Gillian's wedding, the wind and the rain came, and my other daughter turned to me and said, "This is Mum, just letting her know that it didn't work out for us." So that sort of brought a bit of a smile to my face during the day.
Yeah.
But I guess if I'd have known about those chairs, I was just thinking as you were talking, would I have, in advance, would I have felt differently in those days prior? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would rather not. The surprise element would have been better for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Greg's father reacted to it. I never asked him, but it'd be interesting. I'll ask Greg when I see him tomorrow.
I want to kind of go on a bit into you've done a lot of coaching, and now you've kind of gone into your realm of, I mean, you've touched on this already, which is you want to help people who are going through these times of grief and perhaps like the traumatic kind of events in their lives, losing someone, because it is, I guess it's a traumatic experience as well. It can, depending on how it plays out and people's how they see it.
Yep.
Why? How have you? And why did you? And when? There's a lot of whys. When? Let's start with the why. Why did you start the Grandpa Coach system?
Yeah. Well, the Grandpa Coach preceded my involvement with widowed men. I've always felt there was something missing in my life. And when I was going to retire, approaching retirement, I thought I'll get into fitness coaching because I was very heavy into fitness at the time. Less so now, and I did that. But I also was coaching netball teams, and I thought there's a psychological side of coaching that is so often ignored. So I invested a considerable amount of money over a number of years in developing coach mindset, sport mindset capabilities. And then when COVID came, backtrack a little bit. Before I retired, this guy messaged me. I don't know how I got onto it. We got connected, but he messaged me and said, you're a personal trainer. I I use this process called or this thing called NLP, and I think that'd be useful for personal trainers. Why don't you come along to an hour talk I'm having in the eastern suburbs? So I rocked up and I was intrigued by what he said. And then he told me how much it cost and that it would involve me spending a week away from home. I thought, well, it's not for me right now. I'll park it. Go forward 6 years and COVID hits. And just before COVID, I discovered a guy I knew at the gym. Anyway, this guy I knew at the gym, his son actually was one of the instructors at the gym I was going to. And I discovered that he taught NLP. And so I approached him and said, I believe you teach NLP. He said, I don't do that anymore. I said, what a pity. Anyway, when COVID came, this guy messaged me and said, hey, Michael, I know you expressed interest in NLP. The guy I know is running these sessions online, lunchtime for 5 days. Why don't you sort of connect up with it? So I did. And, in a lot of ways, this guy got me at hello. I thought, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's, and so I got into NLP. And then the guy said, well, for a few more dollars, I didn't pay much for that if I paid anything. But the next program, he said, I've got a hypnosis course. I thought, I'll get into hypnosis as well. So I did a hypnosis. Then he said, I've got an EFT course. I did that as well. And then at the end of that, I thought, righto, how can I use my sport mindset and my NLP, hypnosis, meditation, other things that I'd studied over the years. I studied Reiki 30 years ago. How could I use all those? I know, it would go well with the PT stuff, weight loss. So I thought, anyway, I'm talking to this guy one day and he said, Michael, you're an old man. Why don't I reckon a good identity for you would be the grandpa coach. And I thought, yeah, it suits me. So I adopted that, registered the name, got the website, etc. And then moved forward to when Neryl died. And I thought, is general life coaching as the grandpa coach what I want to do? Or is it something, because everyone does that. There's lots of people out there who can be your life coach. But who helps people? I believe that every man who's become widowed deserves to live the rest of their life as the best the rest of their life can be. If I can help men do that, wouldn't that be great? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be a great way to take my loss through Neryl to help me to build a better life for me by helping other men? So it gives me a mission, give me a purpose. Mm. This same guy who put me on to the NLP guy was putting together a book on resilience. And he messaged me and he said, you had a pretty tough life. How did you get through that? I wonder if you could write a chapter in my book. So I wrote this chapter in the book. And in the process of writing it, I just realised one thing that had happened that I hadn't realised before, is that when Neryl died, I lost my purpose in life. For me, I was just getting up each day, teaching my gym class 2 days a week, and going to, coaching my netball team, and life just revolved around that. But that wasn't a purpose. That was just filling in the days. And I thought, how could I turn the loss of Neryl into what my purpose is?
Mm.
And I thought, well, I've got lived experience. I've I've lived through the loss. I've realised that I can't go on this way anymore. Things have got to change. You know, who am I now? What am I going to do now? I can be a person who helps other men
Mm.
to live the best life they can after the loss of their partner, rather than sitting in stuck either in grief
Mm.
or in just drifting along day after day like I'd done for so long. So that's where it all came from.
I think it's like that, isn't it? It's amazing because I think it's that journey, isn't it? It's that we kind of our purpose can sometimes it evolves and shifts depending on kind of what we're exposed to in our lives, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and I think that's fantastic. I think it's just that is life, isn't it? Like that is what we, whether we like it or not, that is what we do in our lives, and we can we can that I guess that kind of that change in our lives, like because that's a change in our lives, isn't it? Like big, sometimes it's
mm,
really, really big change. And change can be uncomfortable, right? It can be sometimes really uncomfortable, or it can be change that is self inflicted. Like I'm going to move countries, like and that can be uncomfortable, but it's a choice that's been made, right?
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
all a change. It's all change to us. Buying a new house, moving house, relocating, changing jobs, like whatever these things are. And I think like um, you know understanding that it's change, isn't it? It is change in our state, you know,
Mm.
and giving ourselves grace with that. And I think in the case of when you lose your wife, you know that's that's like a it's got to be such a humongous change in one's purpose because and I think you know for 44 years you woke up ish years um, and then that's gone, so what am
Mm.
I, who am I, what am I doing, and then comes for you, I think you've spoken about this before on a separate podcast, is like the loneliness. For 67 years you know you you were always around people, you were always living with someone,
Yeah.
and so I suppose if you can speak to that, like the loneliness side of it, because that is that's just devastating for people, isn't it? I think loneliness, there's this huge thing now of epidemic of loneliness going on, and I think especially as men, I think this kind of it can be accentuated. I think.
I think it can. And for me, that, like, when Julian left and moved in with her then boyfriend, it was it sort of was like going over a cliff because all day, unless I'm going out, oh, we weren't at the time, we were still in COVID, but we started back in 2022 to reintroduce sporting activities and that, so I could go out at night to train, to play games. We could play again on Saturdays and that sort of thing. But other than that, I was sitting at home. I got back into teaching the gym 2 days in a week, which I still do. But that was it. And other than that, I'm sitting at home. What am I doing? Sitting at home. You can read a book, you can mow the lawn, you can play with the dog, and you sit down and this place is just quiet. Turn the TV on, turn some music on, do something, you know. But that, to me, and still is, the worst part of the day is when that sun goes down. And for me, most of the time, that sort of means that my day is finished, except for the one or two nights when I go out. You know, we play Tuesday nights, we train Thursday nights, but I don't do anything any other night. And that's when it really hits hard. And, you know, I get through it with TV or, you know, on those odd nights, or will sit in front of the TV and end up asleep and wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and think I better go to bed. You know, the other night I went and asked the boys who are here at the moment, what are they eating for tea? And they gave me ideas that I didn't want to eat. So I came back and sat on the chair and thought I'll get up and cook something in a minute. Next minute, no, it's 10 o'clock. I woke up and said, well, I might as well go to bed now without tea, which probably wasn't good for me. But anyway, that's what it's like. And the other thing is the loneliness is sometimes I want to go out somewhere, like go and listen to something, you know, it might be an Eagles, what do you call it, show, you know, replica show or whatever on somewhere. I think, I'd like to go to that. Who can I go with, you know? Or and that's probably someone said, "Oh, I want, you know, create, you know, get a new relationship." I thought, well, what do I want a new relationship for? All I would it be someone who could come out for dinner with me, or someone who, you know, sometimes I think, wouldn't it be nice to go to dinner somewhere tonight? And I did it in the early days. I'd go to a restaurant, walk around all the restaurants in Campbelltown, thinking, which one am I going to eat at? And I often thought the real problem wasn't what was going to eat, but the fact that I wasn't going to eat with anybody. But wherever I went, I was going to be eating by myself. And that's not good. That wasn't the good part. So, yeah, I still have the loneliness, but now I try to ensure that I basically can watch something that lifts my spirit, or watch something that gives me a memory, or just watch some sport. Yeah. That eternal man thing, sport.
Actually, I'm not an eternal man because I'm not really a sport guy.
There's three sports I follow. One of them is a women's sports, netball, and the
Netball,
other
right?
two
Yeah.
are rugby league and cricket. So, and one of those is probably one of the most boring games in the world for most people.
It's just funny when I tell my some of my students about the game cricket, and I say, yeah, sometimes it's like there's a 4 day test, and they're just like, what?
Yeah,
They can't even imagine. And when I think about it, it's like that sounds pretty wild, like a game that goes on for like 5 days.
5 days. Yeah,
You're like,
but there's so many twists and turns in a cricket game.
yeah, but just
Yeah.
from a standpoint of like this 5 days, this game goes. No, it's not like 3 hours. It's not like a soccer game. It's like 90 minutes. It's all over, right? No. It's like 5 days. Sorry, you got to like bite. The whole concept just like blows away, and I always think, man, that just sounds so wild.
Yeah.
Um, it's so interesting, Michael. I've loved this conversation because I think that it's a very real conversation. It's an honest conversation. Um, and I love hearing journeys of dads of all ages. I had a dad on who was like 6 months in, like and so I've hit the kind of extremes of being a dad
Yeah.
um, is is there with everyone. Um, what is like words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Is there any words of wisdom that you could throw out there into the universe for anyone um, who's a dad now, who's perhaps they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, and they're just feeling like they're struggling. They're like, all I'm doing is working my ass off. I'm coming home. I'm a I don't I'm just grumpy. Um, I'm it comes the weekend. I'm exhausted. I don't do a lot. I'm having a drink, having a beer every night, a glass of wine every night, and I'm just doing the same shit over and over. I love my family. I love all these things, but I'm just like, it just feels like a cycle. I wonder if
Mm.
there's any, is there any wisdom that you can throw out there?
Wow, that was a hard question.
It
As
is
you
a
were
hard one.
as you were developing the question, I was developing about five different answers, and I was thinking something along the lines of, no matter how hard it is, try to make a good point out of every day. You know, whatever, look for some joy
Mm.
in what's happened during the day. And I'll give you an example. Like as a grandfather, I get to see my grandchildren, some of them often, some of them less often. I had one of them over here the other day. She comes over every Tuesday afternoon. I pick her up from school, and her sister picks her up later on, takes her home. And she came in and I said, look, I want you some advice on this. And I posted about this during the week. But I said, what do you think of this photo? It was actually a new banner for me. And she said to me, I said, I'm a little bit worried about this photo that we've got here on the side, whether it's the right photo for someone who aspires or is a coach who leads men through drift. And she looked at it and said, I like it. It's good. And I said, why is that? She said, well, it shows your warmth.
Mm.
It shows you're someone who's prepared to listen to people. And I thought later, a 13-year-old coming up and saying that to their grandfather, that made my week, not just my day. And I think about that and think, yeah, life can be tough, but life's good as well. I'm not sure if that's the answer I was going to give, but it's the one I gave.
No, I love it. I love it. I think sometimes there's that the gold in the little things, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like there's the gold in those little moments. So like this morning, actually, my son was our mornings. As little kids, it can be pretty random. And our house is no different from that. My son, I had my headphones up. These actually headphones here. I switched out my headphones to these ones, and I had them at home, and I put them on. I just put them on, and you know, and then I put them back on the table, and then he picked them up, and he put them on his head, and he started dancing with them. He just started like kind of grooving, and I and then what's really funny, Michael, is I think I saw for a split second I saw my old self. I would have reacted to it. I would have gone, oh, no, 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 because I wasn't there for myself. Like I wasn't looking after myself, so I wasn't able to be present
Mm.
to enjoy that moment. If I in a previously, but these days I I'm able to. Maybe not all the time, but I was this morning. I was
Mm.
able to enjoy the moment, and I was like, oh, I actually want to, like, typical, welcome to 2026, where, like, you got to video everything. Of course, I get out my phone and I start videoing it as well. Like, it's like, but I'm really glad I did, because, like, it was, and I shared it with my parents and the family kind of group chat, like, because I know it's who's not going to like Jamie dancing around the lounge with with headphones on, like, just doing his
Yeah.
dance,
Yeah.
um, and and I think, that's the joy. It's
Mm.
he's brought joy to me. I smiled. I was like,
Yeah.
I laughed, and my wife in the kitchen, she laughed as well, and you know, and I think I've made my parents laugh, and my nieces and nephews and my sister, and like, they're on the group chat. I'm pretty sure I've made them kind of had a little giggle for the day as well on a Friday.
Yeah.
Well, he's made that happen, actually. I haven't made that happen. He's made it happen. Um, and I think the way we get to that joy, we get to those points of being able to enjoy the joy, see the joy and enjoy it, is we've got to find that way. We've got to find ways to kind of look at oneself, and sometimes, that can take adversity. It often takes adversity for us to kind of look inside ourselves
Mm.
and ask ourselves, kind of, like, do I really want to be like this, or I need help. I'm going to need some help, or people are telling me I need help. I don't know. And then there's that kind of journey through that, to find who we are and who we can be. Maybe we don't know what
Mm.
we want to be, but there's
Yeah.
that journey,
Yeah.
right? Um, and um, it's different for everyone. Like, that journey can be really, really different, to find the self care. I use the word self care, which I don't quite like that term, but it is.
Mm.
I haven't found another way to kind of explain self care, and looking after oneself. Like, physically, mentally, physiologically. Like, that is something that I didn't do. I didn't do
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
Now I do, and I look in
Yeah.
the mirror now. I can honestly look in the mirror now, Michael, and I when I walked out the house to come down here, as I looked in the mirror, I was like, it's been a. I feel like I've never looked in the mirror in my life and gone, I've never looked in the mirror and gone, you are a handsome man. You're a great man. You are fantastic. I've never been able to do that. And I think that I've got to a point where I can do this now. It's taken me, years to do this. I think would have looked in the mirror, and if I was all suited up and would have been like, woo, like, but I really feel now that I can do this. And it's
Mm.
because of just the journey of life, and finding a purpose, isn't it?
It is.
You know, um,
And it's great you can do that now.
yeah, it is. It
It
is.
is, and knowing, or going through whatever you had to go through in the past has enabled you to do it now. And now's a good time to do it. No better time than now.
Mm.
No, in the future. You asked earlier about what changed in me.
Mm.
And I think one of the things that did change in me was to be able to see or to realise that there is joy in the world and there is joy in every day, and to acknowledge it, even if it's a little bit. And even in the days, those the year or so immediately after Neryl died, some days I could see joy, and it really made a difference for me. And you've been able to see yourself in the mirror and say, Steve, you're a great bloke. You're doing a great job. You're a good father. You're a good husband. Keep going. Just something like that is good. And I could see how you were getting emotional
Mm.
about thinking of what it used to be like
Yeah.
and where you are now.
I think because when we look in the mirror, is it's the only time in a day that we really see ourselves, isn't it?
It is. And, if it's just after you got out of the shower, you see it completely in
That's it.
all of its
That's
nakedness.
it. That's it. There's nothing hiding anything. Like that's it.
No, nothing at all. And yeah, and interesting you brought up the mirror story because a few months ago I realised that I don't look in the mirror. I walk in the bathroom and
Mm.
use the hand basin, whatever, and don't look at myself in the mirror. And someone said to me one day, "Oh, I saw the photo of you with your new car, and you put a bit of weight on." And I thought, "Have I?" So I went and looked at the photo and thought, "Oh my God,
100%
yeah,"
right.
because I hadn't been looking in the mirror.
Mm.
And I think that mirror, the shiny mirror, not the black one, the shiny mirror is the one we should be looking at more often.
Yeah, it can be I think it can be confronting for people, and it can come with obviously like you know we might not be like, oh, I don't like how I look. I'm not. Oh, I'm whatever. But I think if if we can just try and put that aside and just see that human there,
Mm,
and I think see and give that human that's looking right back, uh, we can then give that ourselves compassion, self love, which is a very much a new thing for me. And I try and practice this daily. Um, I hug myself every day. I actually give myself a hug, close my eyes and hug myself. Um, and I tell myself, I can love myself. I can give myself love, and I can be compassionate to myself. And I would say I, I've been doing this probably now since I don't know 6 months or so. Is that it was a weird thing to do at the start, and I still have this kind of um, I feel my kind of body kind of pushing back on it. It's like this is a bit weird, but it's actually it has real positive impacts on me, like
mm,
little by little by little by little, and it helps with those things where I get emotional about things. It's like there's the compassion, there's the self love, it's allowing it, you know. Um, and I think that's important, and I really hope that you know dads can more dads can kind of do versions of that, whatever that looks
Yeah.
like. Doesn't mean they have to
Yeah.
hug themselves, whatever. That's just what I do, you know?
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
some people give themselves a high five in the mirror. Like, they touch the mirror, they give them a high five. Well, whatever. That's I do that too sometimes, you know? I look straight into my eyes. I look right into my eyeballs in the mirror. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure whether like, I feel like I'm looking at someone different here.
Mm.
And other days I'm like, no, like that's exactly, I'm looking at who I want to be. So
Mm.
it's a very like interesting situation to put oneself
Yeah. Yeah.
in. Michael, it's been amazing. Um, and I said to you before we started recording it, I've been the most prepared. I had the most prepared documents and everything in front of me that I've ever been for a podcast at all in my life. And when you wouldn't believe it, like 15 minutes out from when we started, I lost all the notes that I had drafted up about everything that you had done, up kind of put out there, and I compiled it all. It's gone. I lost it, and so luckily I had printed off some of these things in front of me for yesterday, and but it didn't have some of the information I really wanted on there. But it turns out that the way that kind of has played out is that I've literally looked at this like twice in our conversation,
Yeah.
and I've just let things happen, and I've let the natural flow of what we've been talking about be the winner in this, you know. And I thank you for that, because I don't think that's, you know, it's not me, it's you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I really appreciate it. Really. Uh,
I wonder what it'd feel like talking in the mirror each day. And rather than saying you can love yourself, you actually said, I love myself.
I say that as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because saying that you do something is much
Mm.
better than saying you can do it.
Yeah.
Or what's worse even is I will do it.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
and you know, I will means well, it may be possible, it
Yeah.
may not be possible, but if you say I am loving myself or I love myself,
Yeah.
and it's not to me, it's not a bad thing to say I love myself, I love my life, I love my wife. Interesting, I did a reel the other day, and I recorded it. Then I did captions on it, and I said life, but when the captions came up, it said wife. And I thought, no, that's not what I said. It's something like I don't get on with my wife, or I wasn't enjoying my wife. And I thought, oh my God. You know, it took me about 6 goes to get rid of that in the caption software. It was crazy. But yeah,
Oh, oh my God. Michael, thank you very much again for today. It's been great.
thank you.
And I'm going to put all the links for your website and everything for your Instagram. It's all going to go into the show notes. And I'm really gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share this episode. Of course, it's gonna go out there, but I'm really gonna share it with those two guys
Yeah,
that
thank you.
that are going through the loss, because and of course it's up to them whether they listen to it or not. Like, and I think that's also something that I kind of struggle with. Like, if I share something with someone, I can't I shouldn't expect them to listen to it or do it.
Mm,
It's just,
yeah,
here it is, guys, and I need to sometimes feel like I've got to say them. I'm not don't feel like you've got to listen to this. You know, I'm just sharing it out there. You know, that makes me feel a little bit better as well.
yeah, yeah. That's good.
All right, Michael. Let's head off. I'm going to go have some lunch, and maybe you can go look in the mirror.
Yeah. I've got to pass the mirror on the way
I'm going to
past,
pass the
actually.
mirror, right? Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right,
Well,
Michael. Thank you very much for your time today. It's been awesome.
thank you very much for having me, and really enjoyed it. It's been a great conversation.
It has. It has indeed. All right. Wonderful. Thanks, Michael. Take care,
Thank you.
and I'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.